All right, I'll give people a second to jump on here. We usually get a couple right in the beginning.
Okay.
It's been doing pretty good. It's averaging like 50 or 60 listens a week on Spotify after it just goes to podcast form, which has been pretty cool. For
Nice.
a newer podcast, it's doing pretty
Yeah.
well.
I got an idea I want to do, but are we live yet? Are we live?
Yep, just went live.
Okay.
Let me give people a second here.
We'll talk about it after.
Yep, make myself a note. All right, guys. I appreciate you tuning in tonight for the Campfire Conversations podcast. Tonight I have Dwayne Walley from TourneyX with me. And before we get started, I just want to tell you guys about something that happened in our kayak community in a way that you can help out. If you guys don't know who John Wilson is, you'll see him in the comment sections of a lot of different podcasts, mine included. He's just a great kayak angler down there in Georgia. He's always doing stuff for the community. And honestly, he's just a really great guy. And he had something pretty tragic happen to him. His daughter and his granddaughter Chelsea and his granddaughter Aaliyah, they were killed in a car accident. And it's just super, super sad. And Daniel Woodcock has put together a benefit tournament. It's going to be a $50 entry fee. All the proceeds are going to go to John and the family to just help out. And I'm going to put a link to that in this podcast link on the Facebook, but there's also a link to it on the Steve Billington Fishing Facebook now, as well as the Trash Panda Decals Facebook. And I encourage anybody who can help John to go help him out. It's a really heavy thing. So
Absolutely. I
my
might
prayers
grab
are
it.
with
He's
him.
grabbing and throw it on TourneyX as well. So we're throwing in our proceeds as well. Minus I think $1. I think we had to do something like that, but we're figuring it out. But anyway, we're going to throw in our proceeds as well to help out John and his family. So y'all hop on and let's help them out as much as we can. Okay.
Yeah, when I found out about that yesterday, I was working in my garage. I was cleaning up, getting ready for this move. And I don't know John personally, like, we've never hung out, had a beer or anything, but he's on the Trash Panda Decals promo team. We talk a lot. And man, when I found out about that, because I may get it wrong, I believe his granddaughter was 16, but like my daughter is 14. So they're in the same ballpark. And man, I was just like, I just grabbed a beer and I sat down in the garage. I didn't do anything for like an hour. Like it really hit me. And so I can't even imagine what he's going through. And it's just cool. The kayak community, it's a funny community because this community will like dog eat dog so fast. Like in a comment section on like the kayak fishing groups or something, somebody could post their kayak and be like, look at this new kayak I got and I love it. And the first 5 comments will be, that kayak sucks. Why'd you buy that? And like, so the anglers can be so vicious to each other. But in the same way, when a tragedy like this happens with John, just the community just rallies, man. And it's always really great to see that. And it's great for you as the TourneyX guy to be, you're a huge facilitator of something like this event that helps those people out.
I appreciate that. But you think about it, I think that to what you were just talking about, I think that, yeah, you buy a kayak and you post about it and this, that, and other, and it's dog eat dog, and it is that way, but that's just fun. That's fun lip service, right? It's just fun for those guys to jump in there and just pound you about it. Like, why'd you buy that one? Why'd you? But it really hits home when it's family, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because just like you did a minute ago, you said you grabbed a beer, you went and sat down for an hour, and the thoughts going through your mind for that hour were, what ifs, and I think everybody just it takes them back to a point in time where they're just what ifing it, what if it were me, what if it were my family, what if it were, so I think it brings you back to this this moment in time where you're just very humble, for what we do have. I
Mm-hmm.
guess to say, my mom passed away a month ago. I'm still struggling with that every day because every day I go fishing in the afternoons. I try to go on Saturdays or Sunday evenings, because I like the sunsets. You've seen my sunset photos.
I
I like to
have.
go out and fish, and when I'm coming home and it's dark, I'd always call my mom. I'm sick. I'll be 60 years old in a couple of months. I'm still a kid at heart, man. Your mama's your mama, no matter how you look at it. But I always call mom. And coming home on my drive, I got about a 30 minute drive home, and I always give her a call and tell her how things were today. And she's like, "Oh, glad you caught some fish, blah blah." And now it's kind of tough. You don't get to talk to them, so um, you really comes full circle, man, and it puts you in a very deep place, so to speak. And
Well, I think you reach an age like I'm not. I'm in my 40s now. What am I, 41? I always have to try and remind myself. I'm starting to reach that point where I can't remember. But I'm 41, and you start to like, man, there was a time where somebody would come across my lane, like coming down a country road, and I just like kind of swerve around them. I'm like, haha, you idiot. And now I like lay on the horn, and for like minutes, miles afterwards, I'm just replaying it. I'm like, what if I didn't react that way? My daughter's starting to reach an age where like her friends will start to drive as she'll start to drive. And I'm like, that the awareness of like mortality starts to really settle in at a certain point in your life where you realize it ain't all out in front of me anymore. But my God, it's not supposed to happen to the youth. You know what I mean? That's where it really comes in. And my stepdad is not doing great. He's got a terminal diagnosis, and he had a heart attack a couple days, so he was in the hospital for that. And my biological dad, I don't think he's dying, but like, and Dad, if you're watching, I apologize. I don't think he watches my stuff, but I'm not really sure. But we weren't close for, I don't know, the last 20 years. And now with my wedding coming up, I invited him to that, and he very clearly wants to be closer and have a relationship and get to know my wife and my daughter. And that's all great things. I'm super excited about it. But it went from a point of we weren't close and weren't having those conversations to then we started having them, and it's like at this accelerated rate where I text my sister the other day because she's closer with my dad, and I was like, is he dying? And just not saying it. And it's not because I don't think that he's not being genuine. He definitely is. But he's, and again, Dad, if you're listening, I apologize because of the word I'm going to use, desperate for that to make up that time in very short order. And because he's
well,
from
priorities.
Florida,
It's called priorities. Okay.
yeah, but it's funny how it
Priorities here.
shifts. And
Hmm.
he's not a desperate man. So I was like, is he also dying? But like in a way, we all are. So it's like,
Oh yeah, it's
but
time. The
you
only thing
start
we
thinking
don't
about
have
it.
is that right there. We don't have much more of this. Okay, we have what we have, and our time is numbered. Right. Your time may be different than my time.
Yeah, I could
Um,
go tomorrow.
that's
You
right.
never know.
So, um, my son, it's funny how if you go back, and I know this has nothing to do with fishing, but it's a good chatter. It's good, like you say, campfire conversation. I really like the name of that.
Yeah, we go anywhere on this podcast.
So think about back when you were a kid. I'm talking
Mhm.
about you didn't have a fear in the world. You didn't know what that was. I know when I was a kid, I could show you some pictures of me riding on motorcycles, and you're wondering how I even survived it. But that's what we did. We rode bikes all the time, and as we were doing that, you know, when I would get done with that, I would go hang out with my friends and this, that, and the other, and didn't want to be hanging around Daddy, and Mama. And
Mhm.
as I grew older, I pulled away from my parents. You know what I'm saying? And I want to do my own thing with my own friends. And I think that's much everybody's like that. You know what I'm saying? I would imagine a higher percentage was like that as they grew up through their teens and into their 20s. And then I think it really settles in that, early 30s that, hey, we need to start focusing on. And I think that even my son, he's got his thing going on. But I think here recently he's been reaching out to me, and we're trying to we're hoping to move closer to them now since my mom passed. To be quite honest with you, and I think they want us there. And you know, so we're hoping to do that soon. But he's been reaching out to me closer, you know, more and more and more, and I really appreciate it. Love him to death. Love him, my daughter-in-law, and you know, we want to be there since, and, you know, he lost both his grandmothers within 2 months, which is
Oh man, that's rough.
man. So my wife's mom died in February, and then my mom died in March, and it's been a tough year already. And so, you know, I think it's time for sometime in the future for us to, you know, head that way so we can have that family ties, you know,
Hmm.
and much like your dad. Okay, so I think it's good stuff. I think that, you know, um, if you have those chances, man, don't pass them up. So
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to take advantage. There's because you had said, like, like everybody kind of does. You get older, you want to push away from your parents, and there's an animal. I can't remember what it is. I want to say it's a wolverine, but there's some animal where the dad and the son stay together for like X period of time. Dad teaches him how to hunt, blah blah blah, and then one day, just one day randomly, the father turns on the son and tries to kill him, or it's the other way around. Either way, they try to kill each other. They go their separate ways. And from that moment on, they're just enemies forever. They'll never come back together where they don't try to kill each other. And that's kind of where me and my dad were at for a long time. And then it faded to silence. And then it faded into this thing where, like, every now and then we would talk when it could be veiled under something like a need, where I could like text him and be like, hey, my car's doing XYZ and I tried ABC. It's not
mm,
really working. He'd be like, oh yeah, try this. And then we wouldn't talk again for 6 months because it was a safe thing where we could veil it under whatever. And it was really nice a couple weeks ago to get on the phone. I think honestly the invite to the wedding surprised him, I think is what it was. And so he wanted to talk and we got on the phone, and I'll be honest, I went into that conversation thinking that he was going to tell me he wasn't coming to the wedding and like air the grievances of all the stuff that like I've done wrong because I own my share of it. And it was the total opposite. It was, we haven't had a relationship. We need to have one. I want to be involved. I want to like this. And it caught me off guard, freaked me out a little bit because we haven't had that in so long. And I learned in that conversation that like he watches my videos of me going out kayak fishing. He knew about my business. Like my dad was way more invested in me than I realized.
yeah.
But as a father myself, I don't know why I was surprised because I could never imagine not, even if my daughter said she hated me and moved across the world, I think I'd, for a lack of better terms,
Yeah.
be stalking her, you know?
Well, that's the kind of the beauty, also the curse of Facebook and Instagram and all these other social medias, is that not only is he watching, well, not only is your fans are watching or your people are watching, you know what I'm saying, or people that you know, but your family's watching. You know, they want to
Hmm.
keep up with you, and as long as they can keep up with you and know that you're good and you're okay, maybe they won't call. You know what I'm saying? But it's great
That's a
that,
good point.
I mean, think about it. If you know that he's good and he's always busy and doing things, he's all right. But there's a point in time where you're like, I think I want a little more, and I think this is that time for you and your dad. So
Yeah, it's a pretty cool opportunity.
yeah, yeah, and likewise mine. I told my son, I said, yeah, babe. I said, we'd love to move over there by you guys. He said, yeah, Dad, we'd love for y'all to move over. Just don't move too close to us. And that's what he said. He said, y'all could be like 30 minutes away or 45 minutes away or something like that. And then we talked the other day, and we were talking about buying a big piece of land and living on the same piece of property. And he called me back. This is like 4 months after he said not too close. And he goes, you know what, Dad? If we lived all together on the same piece of property, we could do this and this and this and this and this. And I went, wait a minute. So he's completely changed, and I was like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool, but we'll see how it turns out. We don't quite know yet. So
How far of a relocation would that be for you?
it's 6 hours.
That's a
Yeah.
pretty good chunk.
Yeah. Well, there's plans in the works. We could discuss offline, but right now I'm just trying to figure out how to get there. Insurance is a big kicker, with my day job. Much like you, I work a day job. Some people don't know that about me and TourneyX. I've been doing that for 12 years. As long as TourneyX has been in existence, I've worked a day job. Um, I've been at my current position at the plant for 28 years this year. November make 28 years, and
That's
been
cool,
doing
man.
what
That's a good run.
I've been doing what I've been doing for almost 40 years. So, well, almost 42 years as an electrician. I've been doing. I've been through house wiring to commercial wiring to industrial to now I'm in a maintenance program where we just maintain and keep motors running and keep motor starters and PLCs and we do things that robots can't do. I promise you. If you ever want to get into a trade, plumbing, electrical, any of that type of a trade is always going to be around because you can't get robots to do that for you. It's just not going to happen. So,
See, I don't mess with electricity. Like, if I've got a great example is my living room ceiling fan. There is a breaker in my breaker box that's labeled living room. And so I had to replace the ceiling fan. I went out, turned off that breaker. I could see with my eyes and my voltmeter that there is no power to those wires. Before I ended up doing it, I went outside and shut the main breaker off. I had all the power in the house off because I'm so
you
paranoid
just don't
about
trust it,
getting.
do you?
No,
Yeah.
I watched my dad get zapped, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's spicy 110 or whatever." And I won't even touch the electric fence out at the horse farm. Like I just don't like. But I will mess with lightning. I don't think twice about fishing when it's lightning and my rods make that humming sound behind me.
Oh, no, I'm done.
I'll hear the hum and I'll just go, "Huh," and I'll just grab them and I'll start laying them down flat. But I keep on fishing. But God forbid you got to change a ceiling fan.
No, I'm just the opposite. It starts lightning like that, I'm headed to the bank somewhere. I'm going somewhere where there's no trees and nothing around me.
Steve Lehman from Camo is an electrician, and I think it was three
First
years
Steve
ago.
was
We
electrician.
were we were at Mazingo fishing an event, and from right at pretty much launch time, it just starts storming like crazy. And so I had one of the many people I texted him, and I was like, "Are we allowed to go launch?" And he was like, "Y'all are grown ups." He's like, "I'm not telling you if you can or can't. I'm saying you shouldn't." And I'm like, so it's not a disqualification if I go fish. And I think he said something to the extent of, if you want to be a jackass and go get electrocuted, you're not going to get disqualified. You might die. And I was like, oh, okay. And I went fishing. But he's like, I'm an electrician. I don't screw with with
No,
lightning.
no, no, not fun at all. So
So speaking of Steve, because this kind of segues into one of the questions I had, you had said TourneyX has been around for, I think you said 12 years.
yeah,
Yeah. So I've been kayak fishing for over 30, but I didn't even realize, like, never even occurred to me to consider that people did kayak fishing tournaments until I met Steve Lehman on Mark Twain Lake. I want to say it was the summer of 2022. And I just ran into him because it was a guy with a Hobie. And at the time I was fishing out of a Hobie, and I never saw Hobies here at Mark Twain Lake. So
that's
I
senior,
pout.
right? Is that senior? Is it a
Yeah.
senior and junior? Isn't it? I think.
I don't
Or
know.
is it,
Maybe.
yeah.
I think
Anyway,
he's definitely senior.
okay, yeah.
I pedaled over to him as fast as my little feet would go and was like, "Hey, are you local?" And he started talking to me about, bass fishing tournaments. And so that was how I got introduced to him. And then subsequently got introduced to TourneyX when I started fishing them. So TourneyX has been around for 12 years. I've only known about it since like the beginning of 2023.
Oh wow, wow.
So what got TourneyX started? Like, what was the button for you that created this whole monster?
So I've said this, I've talked about this many times, and but it's gone back to. Of course, I had a love of fishing since I was 3 or 4 years old. I mean, I say love. It's just what my dad would. My dad, mom, and dad loved to camp. Okay, so a lot of people, mom and dad did. That's what we did. We
Hmm.
went camping, carried the trailer, travel trailer out, and before dad would even set the trailer up, we would go down and set out some trout, some not trout lines. It was just catfish lines.
Hmm.
We'd go cast out the catfish lines and we'd stick them in the ground, right? And I just remember those vivid moments of when that time was. And we'd get up like next morning and we'd check the lines and we'd have a catfish or something on it. And it was so cool to get up that morning and go down to the water. It was so peaceful and check the lines and be able to pull in a fish, because you don't know what you're going to catch, right?
Right.
So from then on, it was like I kind of didn't fish much anymore in my up to like 14 years old or so. I just didn't fish a lot. I rode motorcycles. It was one of the things that we did. We trail rode. Me, my mom, my dad, my sister. We all had our own bikes, and we would go out and meet some other families, and that's what we would do. We would just trail ride, and it was
Hmm.
so much fun, man. I remember I was on a I can't remember if it was a Z50 or Q50 or what it was, but a little Honda, and it had the handlebars that you unloosen the knobs, and you could just fold the handlebars down. You put like on the front of an RV.
Hmm.
That's what I used to ride when I was a kid. And I was like 5 years old when I started, and so we graduated through that. But then when I got up to where I was dating my wife, I wanted to get back into fishing pretty heavily, so I bought a 18-foot Ranger and started kind of running the roads a little bit with some local clubs in Mississippi, and it got expensive, really
Oh
expensive.
yeah.
And then my child was born, Zach was born, and he was about a year old, and we just decided I need room in a garage. I wasn't fishing that much, so we sold the boat, and then I kind of quit for a while. Okay, and as Zach went through coming up through his, we were doing soccer and baseball and all that kind of stuff. Sports for the kids. Then it kind of brought me back. My dad had a giant boat. I got back into fishing, and then these stinking kayaks started hitting the market. And, I was watching 30 Miles Out, which is Ty Sutherland down the Texas coast, and he was going out to those rigs, catching catching whatever he catches out there with them on the rigs, and it really got me interested. I was like, I got to try one of these plastic boats.
Was he
So,
taking a kayak 30 miles out?
well, as the show's name was 30 Miles Out. But
Okay.
out in Galveston Bay, it's not. It's only like I think it's a mile out or so. 1 or 2
Yeah.
miles they would go out. Um, but yeah, it got my interest up, and against my wife's. Well, it wasn't. She didn't really mind. I just started searching around trying to find a kayak for me. I went down to the coast, looked at a couple of kayak dealers, and because there just wasn't very many, and I ran across a Wilderness Systems Ride 135, and so that's when it was kind of sitting on the bottom. You were sitting in the water.
Yeah.
It didn't have the high rise seat. It had the regular dummy seat down the bottom. Then they came out with a high rise where it raised it up a little bit, and I thought that was the cat's meow. I was like, dang man, I could see what I'm doing now. But
Well,
that was only about,
sitting in the water
it
sucks.
is not fun, bro. It's not fun, and you've done that, I'm sure, many times.
I've done
Um,
that so many times that like how your hands get wrinkly, your butt starts to get that way
no,
when you're
no,
fishing in those all the time.
I get wet, I'm coming home. I just don't. That's just not for me. Um, So Ride 135 was my first gig, and I started doing that around 2012. I think it was 2012, 2013. And I had a buddy of mine that went out and bought a Commander, a Wilderness Systems Commander, which is more of a canoe style, an open
Mhm.
body. So he would come out with me and go fish at one of our lakes. A friend of mine has, and we were catching some huge bass, and we just start bouncing ideas off each other. And the idea was, okay, we got kayaks, we're fishing. If we start doing tournaments, how are we gonna calculate tournaments fishing, and because we can't bring them in to weigh them, so it just kept this. Every time we go out, you have these conversations with your buddies, right?
Mhm.
And it just repeatedly over and over and over till it was just in my brain, like, okay, we need to do something. And finally, he told me one day, he says, "Well, if you don't hurry up and do it," he said, "I'm gonna do it without you." And so I kicked it off. Bought. I started looking up because I was actually doing some web designs, web hosting back then,
Uh-huh.
and so I knew what domains were. I knew how to buy domains. I knew how to set up websites and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't know how to code. I didn't know how to really write the code we needed to write. So I went online, started looking for tournament something. It had to be tournament something, right? And I don't know what came across my mind. I just said something like TourneyX, Tourney something, and TourneyX stuck. And when it did, I went TourneyX.com, and it says it's available, and I bought it that night.
And
And
that's
that,
one of those names that like it, there's certain times where you looking back, so somebody who comes in 12 years later, you're like, Tourney X is a badass name. And you assume in the future lens, you're like, man, what a great idea. Somebody sat down. Like, you'd like to think that those names came about like through this deep conversation. And a lot of times the great names like that just happen. Like,
It did.
how great is that name? And it just came to you.
It just came to me. I just tried to show. So let me back up a little bit. So by building tournaments, I mean building websites, which I was doing, buying domains, which I was doing. It was all about shortening the domains, okay? Because
Yep.
nobody liked to write out, John and Bill's greatest adventures.com. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. No
And it's
one's
harder to
reading the web.
remember.
Yes, it is. So you want to shorten it. And I kept trying to figure out, okay, how do I shorten tournament, blah, 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 blah. And to tell you the truth about X, the X in TourneyX was that originally when we wrote TourneyX or started writing it, X was supposed to mean any kind of tournament available you could think of, whether it's fishing or bowling or hunting, or we were going to actually just branch out in all different varieties. Okay, it was just to be something that was going to blanket everything. We just never got out of fishing. I keep saying that we just never left the fishing industry. We could go any direction we want to. It's been good to us.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, I work two jobs, day job and TourneyX, and I just don't have time. It's that time thing I talk about, right?
Yep. 100%.
You just don't have the time in the day to do it, and you can't. I won't say you can't. When you're a one man show, and you are, Steve, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying. You wouldn't want to hand your business over to somebody else because you're afraid it's not going to that they wouldn't take care of it as well as you do. Correct
Yeah,
me if I'm wrong.
there's a weird thing about, and I've had those offers. Like, I had somebody offer not that long ago, like, hey, I see all your ID holders and stuff are out of stock. I can print those, and it's an innocent enough offer. There's nothing wrong with it.
Hmm.
But I also know like they're out of stock, not because I can't keep up or I can't do them, but there's a weird thing about letting somebody else design or letting somebody else do this. There, part of what makes TourneyX what it is or Trash Panda Decals what it is that it's our hands that do it.
Hmm.
It's not the same when somebody else's hands do it.
And it's
Hey,
us.
what's up,
It's you.
Chase?
And it's you. It's Steve. It's Dwayne, right?
Yep.
And you know how to get hold of Steve when you need something, and they know how to get a hold of me when they need something. And we're going to answer our phones. We're not
Yeah.
some big corporation that can't be gotten a hold of. And I think
Correct.
that breeds a loyalty. That breeds, um, friendship, everything. All those, you could say any of those, right? Um, if it were for Attorney X, I certainly wouldn't have thousands and thousands of friends out there right now. I wouldn't.
Oh yeah, same for me. All the years, like 5 years, it's six now, but the first 5 years building content. I mean, I do okay. There's over 3,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, but like I never thought I'd get recognized for like content. When I'd run into somebody at a boat ramp who's like, "Oh, I think I've seen one of your videos. Like that was super cool." I never made Trash Panda decals as any kind of like get recognized sort of thing. And then last year when I went to the Eco 250, the amount of people that came up like, "Hey Steve, I'm so and so. I love your products." Like I couldn't keep track of who half these people
No.
were if my life depended on it, but they
And
all
it's a
know
blur.
me.
And it's a blur, man. You'll never
Yeah.
remember who they are because I can't. I can't. Go
I
ahead.
can't imagine what being a celebrity is like, Dwayne.
Me either.
You're closer to celebrity than I
No,
am. I can't imagine
no.
how it is for you.
Look, man, look at this. I'm wearing a ratty old Attorney X t-shirt. Look, it's worn out. Look at that. This is
I purposely did not wear the TourneyX t-shirt you gave me tonight. Not because you're on, but because I think I've worn it in several podcasts already, and it's only episode 11. I was like, I probably shouldn't wear it. I
man. I
just,
love my shirts. I love
it's
my
just
t-shirts.
such a good shirt. Like they're
Yeah,
super comfortable.
yeah, yeah.
I
Well, I'm
love
glad
that
you like
thing.
it. I miss y'all, man. I really did. Y'all had us all set up, and my wife was having some health problems, and I had to turn around and come back home. And
No, you did the right thing. No,
I
nobody thought you were doing the wrong thing.
no, she was in the hospital for 2 days, so I had to come back, and we took care of her, and I'm hoping they do pull it out and have it again this year. Well, you met Don Taylor,
Yep. Yeah,
so
he's a
Don,
character. I like him.
he is. So Don and I are going to probably come back up if we can swing it and find a place to come hang out with you guys. You and I want to see Josh Booth and some of the guys and So I can't wait. Can't wait to come back up there.
The this whole podcast was something in the back of my mind, actually from my first tournament, when it was just me and my buddy Christian in a campsite. But what really finally pushed me to do this was that event, because just sitting around the table talking to Marty and Josh and Trey and Don, and like now that I'm like recognized, there's just a lot more conversations with people at these events where, believe it or not, I'm actually fairly shy and standoffish. So I don't like go up and talk to people at those events. And so Trash Panda kind of changed all that. And sitting around the table just BSing, I was like, this right here, if you could just take mics in this moment and turn them on and let them record, that's the conversations. And I made myself a promise. I was like, I am launching this podcast. So it stinks that you missed out on that weekend because of the reasons that you did. But man, I'm looking forward to the next one.
I am too. I am too. So yeah, what was I? That was the God. It was just tell you about something.
Yeah, we do rabbit holes, man.
Yeah, it just went off. Never mind. I may come back to me in a few minutes. But
Uh,
yeah, you were talking about the gathering around tables and just having a
mhm.
conversation. Uh, I think great to what you're doing and doing that. And it'll be cool to have 4, 5, 6 people in here just having a conversation. But sometimes too many is too much, you know. So
Yeah,
um,
it's especially hard virtual like this to juggle too many.
yeah,
But I'm hoping at this 250, I'd actually like to do one of these in person, even if I don't do the video side of it, where I
hmm
just bring down a portable setup and a couple of mics and be like, all right, and everybody, we just do it, and then I can just edit it later. And it's just like a cool thing where you get a couple people sitting around. And one of my favorite podcasts ever was done by Meat Eater, and they were in a van, like a passenger van, driving across, I think it was Alaska,
you talking about
and they were
Steve?
go
The guy named Steve.
yeah,
What's his name? Yeah.
yeah, they were going from one event to another, and at one point in the middle of them talking, you just hear a horn laying on, and they're like, what are you doing up there? And it's just like the funniest podcast ever. Chase said the conversation and what it's all about, doing in person would be awesome. See, now Chase he travels for all these great events, he needs to come out for the Eco 250. That's a whole different
Where
experience,
does he
man.
live? Where's he at?
He's in Indiana,
Okay. Okay.
not
I
terribly
want to get to
far.
Indiana so bad, man. Jim Strunk has been asking me to come up and stay with him and his. You know, you've ever seen the pictures of his cabin he's got? Sometimes he'll post it. I don't know if you know Jim Strunk or not, but
I know the name. Like I definitely know the name, but I don't know him. I don't
he
think.
is he has been bugging me about coming up and hanging out, just sitting by the campfire and just telling stories and visiting and slowing things down real slow. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And which I think we need more of that in our lives. I think.
Oh, okay. I do know who he is. Chase said he's the founder of GRBY.
Yeah.
Okay, I know exactly who that is.
Yeah, he and Ryan Reedy, they're doing some great stuff. They kind of hooked up each other years and years and years ago, and they needed a platform to run their pick a day type thing, and we wrote that little script for them, and they've been with us ever since. So we appreciate those guys so much. But there's we were just talking about this a minute ago. So let's talk about that. I want to visit with you about that, about the tournament directors. Okay,
Yeah.
you know we've got some of the greatest tournament directors on TourneyX. We have close to 1,500 that signed up with us over the past 12 years. Just to give you an idea of how many
It's
tournament
a
directors
lot.
signed up. That's a lot. 110,000 users, which now I think I ran some numbers last year about who consistently fished with us over over and over a 4-year period, and it was about 25,000 users. Okay, so out of 100,000, we got 25%, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty hot.
Um, so, and then on the director side, I'm not sure exactly what that number is. Of course, it's much lower. But we were talking about how these directors, the job that they do, Josh Booth included. We were talking about we were bragging on Josh a minute ago.
Yeah, I only
Uh,
said good stuff, Josh.
Talking about Josh, we're talking. You got Vinny Ferrari on one end of the country, then you got Marvin Forte on the other end of the country.
Yep.
Steve Owens is running the Bass Series. and he runs some of the Tennessees and Georgia Bass Nations, and of course brought all that to where it is now. Jim Strunk, you know, Ryan Reedy. There's just so many. Duke Tran. I could sit here and go on and on and on, you know, but there's so many directors out there that run these events, and they run it for out of the goodness of their heart. Okay, they're not in it for the
Yep.
money. They do it because I've even talked to Duke several times, and Duke said at some point he's like, man, this is driving me insane dealing with people, dealing with payouts, dealing with all this. And I said, well, Duke, why don't you take a break? He says, if I take a break, Dwayne, he says nobody's going to do it. It'll just fall
Yeah.
through. And so they do it for the passion. They do it because of the anglers. So the next time you anglers are out there and you think about these tournaments, before you call that director and say something you might regret saying, think about what they're doing for you guys, because they don't have to do it. They're out there to hold these tournaments so we all can have fun and win a little money maybe, or talk some smack or whatever it is. So
Yeah. And they're not getting rich. There is, especially with newer kayak anglers, there's like this perception that the guy who runs the tournament is making all this money. There are a lot of TDs that are losing money by doing it. They're literally just doing it for like the passion. And some of them work just so freaking hard. Like a lot, it's funny because a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have known half the names you just rattled off. I like wouldn't have had a clue. Now I know who all of those people are because of the business and talking to TDs, and especially when the end of the 1 year comes and the next year is getting ready to start. There's that open window where sponsors aren't locked in and everything else. And you've got me who's just like, hey, you guys haven't updated identifier yet? Are you changing one? And half of them don't answer because they're busy. Half of them are like, yeah, we're going to update, but we don't know what it is yet. And then you got the other ones that are like, I want a new one. Can you make it? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Because if I make it, you like it, now I can check that box off. But so
mhm.
in talking to a lot of these people, I see a lot more on the back end that I didn't used to about what it's like to be a TD. And if somebody even ever asked me to judge for a day, like I would do it if that was what was needed. Like if Josh needed somebody to help and he's like,
Right.
hey, can you help judge? I would. But it sounds horrible. Nothing about it sounds
Let me
fun.
tell that needs to be said over and over. People love to complain about. Who's
He's
that? Is
not
that Josh?
wrong.
Who's that? Oh, Johnny.
Johnny
Me,
Maddox.
me and Johnny
People
go way
love to
back. Hey,
complain
Johnny,
but not
boy, how
help.
you been, buff? So, Johnny, you know Johnny?
I don't. Well, Johnny,
Johnny's
if I do know you, I apologize because I'm really bad at names. I
Johnny's like an
might.
old Arkansas. He's an old Arkansas boy, and
I probably do then.
we fished Lake Fork together. We sat on the back of some truck out there and visited Lake Fork and had some good conversation. He's a good guy. He really is. All them boys up Arkansas is good guys.
Yeah, Moyak and Arkansas overlap a lot, so I probably do.
Yeah. But I sit here and go through a lot of these names. I see these names. I'm like, yeah, whatever happened to this guy? Whatever happened to that guy? And then you got thinking about, I thought about something the other day about these cheaters and all the cheating aspects with cheating things we've had over the years. And it's like, man, I could write a book. I seriously could write a book about this, but I'm not a writer, so that's not going to happen.
One of the notes I wrote down literally just says cheaters.
Look, man, we've had tail cutters, we've had board cutters, we've had kayak cutters, we've had all kinds of cutters over the years. You know what I'm saying?
The most recent one I saw, I don't actually think it was on your platform, but it was just a really bad Photoshop. Like some of the people aren't even being clever, but I don't envy the position you're in to try and not only stay a step ahead of the cheaters and try to think about what they might do next, but even just trying to mitigate the little stuff because and I'm not immune from this. I you know me, I'm no shortage of opinions. But like you're in a position where you've got to make changes or do stuff where for the greater good and the stuff you can see on the back end, it helps mitigate the cheating. Like doing stuff in app with the camera and stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
the first one to be like, man, I really like using my iPhone camera. Me and Chad were the biggest
Well, no,
problems
you
with
can
that
still
one.
use your iPhone camera. Just so I make it clear, you can still use your
You
camera.
can. Yeah.
Yes, you can.
But
Yeah.
at first we were like, oh no, I don't want that. But like if you take a step and look at it, you're like, oh no, I can still use my camera. Like there's reasons why these things are done. And man, anglers don't like change, but
No,
you're in
they
a
don't
position
change.
to really have to do it.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. It kind of leads into some new stuff we're doing now. Because last year we had, I think it was the one you're referring to, the guy with the that took the fish off of another board, off of another tournament, brought it in, and put his hand over,
Yep.
kind of photoshopped his hand over top of the fish, and it
Yep.
didn't even look real because it looked like it was kind of 3D-ish. If that's the person you're talking about.
Yeah, it had
Um,
like the magic eye thing going on.
yeah, so that fish was caught like a couple of weeks prior to that tournament or a month or so before that tournament. That's why somebody remembered it because it was so big. I think it was on TourneyX, but I think Marvin was the one who found it
Oh
because
yeah, maybe.
he remembered that big fish and he says, how can that fish be, caught like that in that area? Anyway, nevertheless, so
It's ballsy to take a fish people might remember and carry it forward to another event.
yes, yes. So with that being said, was it yes, Toledo Bend? Yes. No, it was hang on a minute. No, it was Lake Fork. Remember we stayed at Lake Fork? We were staying at Lake Fork. I don't remember what lodge number it was, but we were on the back side of those buildings. Remember? And I think Duke Tran had all the vodka out there that week. Yeah, that's where we were. That was when I remember anyway. So you talk about change. So we when they had that Photoshop thing happen, um, then there was a discussion with the other app that's out there, and I think Hoover came on and said that app's doing some things and we're not doing it, blah blah blah. So I discussed it with my developers. I said, okay, guys, we got to do something to try to get these anglers to shy away from trying to Photoshop these pictures and things like that. And so
Mhm.
what we did was we went through the EXIF data and we found if you like it was for instance say you resize a picture we went in and found out okay what part of the excess data changes when you resize a picture and there is a part there that changes okay
Mhm.
from the original so now we can see what the original is if we can see what the change is so we can actually throw up an alert and say hey this person resized this picture or this guy flipped this picture or this guy photoshopped his picture. So now we can see if that's happened. If the photo has been edited in any way, we can tell it by the EXIF data. So that was step one. Okay, so now we're popping up alerts in the back end. So just let you guys know if you edit your pictures, we can see it now on the back end. So it pops up this alert. So step two was it's actually Monday we started putting in descriptions about what those alerts were. Okay, so now
Mhm.
it's like no GPS found on this picture. Well, guess what? We had an angler just the other day that was submitting some fish, and all his fish had GPS coordinates, but in the EXIF data it said 0.00 whatever it was. It was no X. There was no Latin launch.
So he was added
So,
them after the fact.
so what we have in TourneyX, and we've had it for we had it for 6 years. That if your picture has no GPS on it, you click a button that says "Mark my location where I caught the fish," and it does mark you on the lake. It
Oh,
does.
that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
So that supersedes. That will help you supersede the 0.0 on the Latin launch, right?
Mhm.
So guess what happens? I talked to the angler of the day, and we fixed his problem. So now he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. So now when he takes his photos, it's got all the information it needs. All that's it's kind of like it's an educational tool. We're not look guys, we're not out there to throw you in jail. Okay, all we're out there to do is help educate you on how we can have a good time and fish. Okay. If you've got a problem with your phone, call me. We will sit down and figure it out. I will one on one with you until we make sure your phone's working properly. And this angler did, and we got him working. So I feel good about it. He's good. You know what I'm saying? So now going
Yeah.
forward, he can use either camera he wants because he's going to get those Latin launch coordinates, and it's going to pop in there just fine now. So
Well, and you guys have the test stuff where you can test your
that's
settings, test submit. Like, is that utilized as much as it should be, or do you see like can you see data on how often people use the test feature to see if
no,
their
I
stuff is
can't.
right?
Nah, because it's local. It's local to the phone.
Oh, okay.
So there's a image tester under the menu bar. It just says image location tester.
Yep.
And you can take a picture. You can actually open up, take a bunch of pictures with the camera app or your app or whatever, however you want to do it, and then you can bring them in and go browse, pick that picture, and if it shows you a thumbs up, that means we can read that data. You are good. If it does this, that means you need to go in there and find the configuration, get it fixed, take a photo again, and try it again, and keep trying it till you get the thumbs up. Once the thumbs up happens, we're good. We get
Yep.
all the information we need.
I never mess with my location settings. And still, every time I go fish a tournament, sometimes even on a normal day, if I know I'm going to submit to like Marty's event or something like that,
Mhm.
I just hit that image tester right there on the water before I even get going. I just take a picture and test it. Because you never know, man. Technology does weird stuff. And wouldn't
Well,
it
these
suck to go
updates.
catch a great bass and then not have any of that stuff and then you can't submit it?
Well, we'll go a step further. If you get to a point, I know a lot of directors will go the extra mile. If you were to catch a fish and you take a photo of a fish or fish, of 5 fish, whatever, you reach out to that director and you say, "Listen, guys, I took these photos. I was with such and such. He knows I called him. Blah blah blah. I can't get him to submit. Can you help me?" 99% of the directors are going to help you get those fish uploaded. Okay.
Yep. 100%.
What they don't want to ruin your day. They do
Yeah.
not want to ruin your day. Just remember that, guys. Most directors are going to go out, reach out, and help you as much as they can. However, don't screw up because they can wreck your day. Okay, once again, they're doing this for free, you
Yeah.
know, and they work hard at it. So just be mindful of that when when you have to reach out to a director. So.
Now on the photo data, I because I see this come up all the time, and possibly I'm giving people the wrong answer. So might as well get it from you because you're sitting here. So I've seen before where people they'll say, "Well, the photo didn't come out on my iPhone, so I wasn't able to submit it." And you'll always get somebody in the comments that go, "Well, you're running your GoPro or your DJI, and if your GPS is on, you can just save the photo out of there because it's got all the GPS." So there are instances where I can load my video into DaVinci, and because I'm running GPS, all that data is there on that timeline. And I can grab that snapshot where I happen to be looking over the fish and everything is there that needs to be there as far as the identifier. I can pull that out, airdrop it to my iPhone, and in theory, I can upload it to TourneyX. And it has location data and stuff in it. Are you guys allowing that or are you flagging it as like modified or something else? Because it just seems like a really sketchy thing to do.
Well, I don't think they're allowing GoPro videos to be snapshotted or anything or screenshots. I, I I'm not the one who makes those decisions. It's going to be the directors. I'm the one who says that's not a good picture. Okay, I'm talking
Mhm.
about like exit data wise. Um, I will tell you though, if you do that and it comes through, it's probably going to have an alert that probably says something doesn't look right. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was mostly getting at
Yeah.
because it is at the end of the day a photo and it does have EXIF info and GPS, but
It,
it just because in theory, if you could do that, you could pull it. Now you have this photo and you can pull it out into say Photoshop and you can do a beautiful Photoshop job
oh
on
yeah.
it and you can maintain that EXIF data the whole way.
But I
So
don't
that's
know
what
if
I
you
was.
can. I don't know if you can, Steve. I don't know. I've never really.
Maybe
I'll
you
be honest
can't.
with you. Huh?
Maybe you can't. I always just assumed you could. I was like, man, if it
But
doesn't
this is
come
the.
from like a
But this is the
phone.
reason. This is the reason that we say most times when you edit a photo or do a screenshot, like a screen capture, like two
Mhm.
button screen capture, and you try to submit that, it's not going to have exit data on it.
Right, it's going to pull that out.
It's going. So everybody's going to, and I want directors to understand this. When it comes through and it alerts you, and then it says no exit data, do your due diligence. Make sure you reach out to that angler and find out what he did or didn't do because he could have made a snapshot and sent it in. See what I'm saying? A screen
Hmm.
share and sent it in. So don't just let that go by and say, "Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it," or at least look at it and make your decisions wisely. It's just a phone call. Just pick it up, call the angler, and go, "Hey, did you how did you submit this? And what I mean, just ask him because guess what? You could find out that he was trying to cheat. You know.
Well, and some
Um,
people just aren't tech savvy. Like I know some people that could take a screenshot, not even meaning to take a screenshot,
oh
and then
yes,
they go to add the photo to the app, and it's the most recent one in the camera roll, and they're like zooming in on the fish, and it looks good, and they don't even notice the date
but
and status bar and stuff across the top.
the funny one it does me is when they turn it vertical or horizontal. I'm sorry, yeah, vertical, and you get
Yeah,
a screenshot and you have the black at the top and the black at the bottom with the picture in the middle, right? That's a big getaway. That's a screenshot.
and I
Um,
used to be one of the guys who would like take a billion photos. And then I go in and be like, man, I really like that one. I don't like the way it's oriented. And I would just rotate it and then submit it. And then when you guys made the change, you're like, hey, don't rotate your photos. It made my life a lot easier because I used to rotate them thinking, well, the TD doesn't want to look at it facing sideways. But now I just have to be like, I don't care what direction the TD wants it. I'm not rotating it. So I just shoot them all in.
it's funny. I had a director in Cincinnati over in Ohio call me the day and found that there was an angler. And I don't remember the name of the guy, but there was an angler that was taking fish and put them in a bucket and keeping them in a bucket throughout the day before he eventually would submit them. So if you look at these fish, and this is just fun fact,
Hmm.
if you take fish like that and you put them on a board and you look at their fins, you'll notice that the fins are red around the edges. They'll be like they've been, stressed out. It's funny
Well,
how they
yeah.
stresses a fish out, and they caught the guy. Actually, they called him up and asked him, and he admitted to it. And so now he's gone.
Was he doing that so he could post them multiple times, or was he just holding
I
on to
don't
them to
know
hold
his
on to
reasons.
them?
I don't know his reasons, but the first thing comes to my mind is he's bringing it from another lake.
Yeah, some bucket biology submitting along the way.
So I don't know what his reasons were, but he's gone now. So these
Yeah.
directors are taking care of business. They're not screwing around.
Yeah,
So
Chase from Southwest Indiana said their tournament directors are submitting things on purpose to test the people judging the fish, which is kind of clever.
it is clever.
I
They'll
dig that.
catch it. Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
And here's the thing, if your judges miss something or they're perceived as missing something, the anglers are going to be the first ones to say it. Because the anglers, once those winners get announced, they're
Mhm.
in every trail. There's a group of anglers that are zooming in on every single photo. Usually, the guys that are just out of the money, looking for any little thing,
To
like
walk them in the money. Yep.
just any little thing to get them into the money. And it's I consider when I sign up for an event, I consider it a donation. I'm not the world's greatest angler anyway, but I'm just like that with any kind of gambling in general. If I go into a casino with $100, I assume that $100 is gone. If I'm registering for a tournament, I assume that money is gone because then if something happens during the tournament that I don't think is right, like let's say I get disqualified for something and I don't think it's right. I might be right, I might be wrong, I'm probably wrong. I might get upset that my whole day is wasted, but like I don't get stuck on like some people. I think if the event's $50 and they have $60 in their account, they submit that 50 and then they look at it like I have to win, I have to get some of my money back. And then when they don't, they get locked in on the money. Whereas I'm just like the second I pay that entry fee, that's gone.
It's gone. It's
Yeah,
gone.
if I win something, that's a bonus.
Here,
You
here's
know.
my here's my here's my take on that. It's the same way you are. We usually charge $60 to fish our little events here in Mississippi, right? So I already know $60 is gone, right? So I'll
Mhm.
mark it up as $60 for a good day. Okay, just $60. Go have fun, get away from home, spend a day on the water with your buddies. Entry fee into the lake, whatever it costs you. Um, but yeah, I like you is it's $60. I'm just donating, and if I win, that's extra. You know,
Yeah.
so
And
but
I mean, if you're traveling all over the country doing the Bassmasters and stuff, it's probably harder to look away from the money. But I almost feel like in that situation, it's all the more reason to. Like, at the beginning of the year, if you're somebody, you're like, all right, I'm going to go do all the Moyak events and I'm going to travel down to Arkansas and do their events. I'm going to do Bassmaster. I'm going to do this. You could sit down and lay out all those fees. And going into the year, I'm at least spending this amount. So just call that a loss. if that's what you want to do, just assume you're never going to see another dime of it back.
Right. Or at least say, okay, I got a $2,500 investment for the year with gas, entry fees, and everything, right?
Hmm.
And you know that's the write off because a lot of these guys do this for businesses. Okay, they're they're anglers and they're spending that money to go fish a tournament, so it's a write off for them, right? Because if they win, they have to show their earnings, so they know how much they're going to spend,
Yep.
and they know they need to try to make back that much money over that next year. So to break even. So and if they break even, guess what? They're going to call it a win.
Oh yeah, the goal is to break even. You don't want to have too much loss, and you don't want to have too much gain. You want to be right there in the middle. You're like, hi, I'm mediocre. I split it down the middle.
That's right. But I had fun doing
Here's
it.
my taxes.
Right. Oh man.
Oh man,
So,
cheaters! I
so
can cross cheaters off now. I have a non-fishing related question because I don't want to keep you too much longer because we're almost
yeah,
at an
what's it?
hour. We
Yeah.
started late. So I meant to ask this. I told myself that for like the last 8 podcasts, I was going to ask this at the end. So my wedding is coming up. The fact that I had to think about that for more than a second would make Kelly very upset. May 30th is when my wedding's coming up. So I'm like right in that final stretch. And so we just closed, or we're in the process of closing on our house. The wedding's coming up. You've been married for a long time, Dwayne. You got any marriage advice before I screw something up?
So we've been married 33 years, and what works for us doesn't always work for everybody. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm not the perfect husband, and most of us never will be. Okay. But always be there for her. She'll always be there for you. You know what I'm saying? Um, if I really want to just be fun, I'd say buy as many rods as you can now before you get married. That way you got them. But I'm not going to say that. But just let her know what's going on. To don't keep things from your spouse. Okay, it will ruin a marriage. It will ruin a life. Um, what works for us is we have one bank account. A lot of people don't. I mean, I'm getting deep. I went straight into it. Okay, you asked me. I'm telling you. We have one bank account takes care of all the bills, right? Some people don't roll that way. Some people like you have your bank account, I have my bank account.
Hmm.
Um, and or you pay half the bills and I pay half the bills. I know people that do that and it works for them, you know. But I work 2 jobs. Everything goes into one kitty. We pay all our bills. We're taken care of. Um, I will tell you. How old are you, Steve? Now you told me a minute ago.
41.
Okay, kid. We're gonna have. Well, you have kids already, correct?
Yep. So my daughter is 14 and Kelly doesn't have any, so that's definitely in the plans. She would like to have
Okay.
one of her own, and
Okay.
I've supported that from the get-go.
Good. Good. So I will tell you, for future benefits, start stocking money away for that kid, for
Hmm.
colleges and what have you need to do. We did that with our son. We only had one kid. Okay, we had one because the good Lord wanted us to have one. My wife got really bad sick with high blood pressure and all those sorts of things that happened during pregnancy. So we were happy to have that one healthy kid, and we stopped. We were good with that.
Hmm.
But we made damn sure that one kid had everything the kid needed. You know what I'm saying? He
Yep.
wasn't spoiled, but he had what he needed. He had the money to go to college. He got his own scholarships. He was smart enough to get his own scholarships.
That's
And
awesome.
we put I think we put I don't know a little bit of money in there for him to. In Mississippi, there's something called impact. So you could purchase an impact fund for an infant. You could purchase
Hmm.
it when they're born, and at that time it locks you in at a certain number. Okay, and you pay that number just like buying a car. You pay like $70 a month until it gets to a point where it's paid out. Once it's paid out, you pay, like, for instance, you'll pay like $20,000, but it's worth $35,000 at your local colleges.
That's
And
pretty cool.
so what we did, we just saved money up till we found that number, and then we just bought into it at that time. You know, um, we bought in, we paid for his college fund, and let me tell you what, when I knew that my kid was going to go to college, do you know how much a relief that was off my shoulders to know that he was going to be taken care of to go to. And he went to Mississippi State and he did well. Now he's got his own job and he's doing good. And So now I'm hoping to instill that in him to do the same thing for his kids. You know.
And that's good advice.
So
Kelly's so much smarter with like my whole thing has been like you said with the one bank account. I'm all for it. Like here's my paycheck. Tell me when I can buy fishing lures. Like here you go.
well, I mean, you can do that, and you can still do that with your mad money with through your businesses now. That's kind of the way I do it with TourneyX. It's always
Well,
really.
that's the whole reason it exists. It
I know.
exists to pay for my hobbies.
That's right. That's right. So you'll learn in time how things kind of go, and it'll be fine, man. You'll do good. You'll be a good dad to that young one. Okay.
I'm excited, man.
That's good, man.
And Kira would love to have baby brother or sister. Like she would be stoked. And it's exciting, man. We'll be dating. Well, we'll be married before this, but we would have been dating for 4 years in July. And I'm 41, never been married, and it's like, man, when you know, and she's freaking awesome, and I can't wait for this wedding, and like I'm at the point now where there's there's the part where like right after you get engaged, you start making plans and talking about them, where like you get indigestion. And then there's the part where it feels, at least for me, I don't know that she would agree, where everything was kind of coasting, where like plans were in place and like there's little details and stuff, but for the most part, you're good. Then you hit that crunch time, that 2 months before the wedding and now a month before. And it's like, okay, the house shopping, then we offered, it got accepted. It's like, so now I've entered the spot. I am locked in, man. Like, I'm not even worried about fishing because I'm like, okay, if we close on the 20th, the wedding's on the 30th, that's effectively 7 or 8 days that I can move stuff before the wedding. And then as soon as the wedding's over and I'm like, XYZ, my house is like 85% packed so that as soon as we close, I can start loading my house up and moving it. That way, when the wedding's over and the PTO's over, she's got to go back to work. She didn't even have to think about it. I'm just going to be moving her. I said, it's going to be like you hired movers. Just one day I'm going to be like, hey, go to the new address because that's where your stuff's going to be. Don't go home to the old place.
Oh man, y'all gonna do well. You're gonna do well, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I still remember the day I met you at was that Lake of the Ozarks? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We met at that boat launch, and
Yeah, that boat launch was never good to me, but that was a fun morning because I met you guys and Matt. I want to say was also there. The Matt, I'm bad with names, but the Matt that makes his own glide baits and stuff was there.
oh,
Yeah, some pretty cool ones.
see, I didn't know hardly anybody other than you. Well, when I met you, and then
And Trey was there. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Trey had called me, man, a couple of years ago, and told me his story, and I was like, holy cow,
he's a character.
he is, man. He's super nice, man.
He's about to get married
I heard.
the 22nd of next month. I think.
Man, all you guys are getting hitched.
Yeah, I actually have his
No more
invitation
fishing for
sitting on the
y'all.
counter.
It's over.
See, the beauty of everybody laughs. Everybody who's married laughs when I say this, but I'm like, the beauty of my wife is she never messes with my fishing. But it really is true. It also helps that like she has a 5 day a week schedule. I only have 3, and every other week I'm off for a week. So what really messes up my fishing is my business more than anything.
I get that. Mine does too. So I work 6 to 2:30 Monday through Friday at my day job, and I'm on call every third day.
Ooh,
That means I'm on call Friday one week, Saturday one week, and Sunday one week. Right now, and then I only have one weekend free. That's it. So I can't go out of town. I can't go fish because I'm on call at 24 hours for the plant. Now
yeah.
when we get we're training a new guy, and when we get our new guy trained, it'll put us on every 4 days, which will break it all out of whack, which will be good because then you'll have 2 weekends off a month, and
Yeah, that one person in rotation makes a huge difference.
it does. And then when you get to the 6th person, which we got one more guy that's going to be coming back off of, he's been on sick leave. We hope to get him back in, get started back up, and have 6 guys. That gives us 5 days off between our calls. So, but
Yeah, that'll be nice.
I'm getting to the point in time where I just want to retire and just do my thing, man.
Me too.
You got 25 years, man. Come on.
Oh, that sounds exhausting.
It does. I got 4.5. So
All right, buddy. Well, we've been going for an hour, 4 minutes, so
yeah, man.
I definitely appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we got to talk about some of that stuff. And just to remind everybody, if you missed it in the beginning, there's a benefit tournament for John Wilson to help out him and his family. And you guys can find that on the Steve Billington Fishing Facebook page, Trash Panda Decals Facebook page. It's on TourneyX. Matter of fact, if you go on TourneyX in the search bar and just type in John, it's the only thing going to come up. It's going to pop right up for you. You can get signed up there and really help him out. So I
Yeah. How
appreciate
about
everybody
you, man?
tuning in and appreciate you being on, Dwayne. And
Thank you,
it's
buddy.
been a
Thank
good
you
one.
for trying to get this together. It's been a while, so we've been kicking around ideas about getting on the show one night. I certainly appreciate you letting me come in.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun.
Listen, guys,
Appreciate
if
it.
y'all need me for some reason, just you can message me at on my messenger channel, on Facebook. Most of you have my number. If you don't, just search me on Google. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. If it's 100,000 places, you know me. You guys know me well enough. Just call me. Let me know what you need, and we'll try to handle it for you. So once
All
again,
right.
Steve, thank you for letting me be on here tonight, and I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.